After driving 3 hours to help my SIL move, I was told to sleep on the porch because the guest room was for family. At breakfast, my wife said, "You could have just got a hotel if you had a job worth mentioning." I ate cold eggs in silence. For days later, I sent a group message that made her sister scream and her father say, "I'm a 38-year-old guy from Raleigh, North Carolina. I work as a full-time mechanic. Been doing it since I was 19. I get dirty, I get sweaty, but I make an honest living. I fix people's cars, I don't screw anyone over, and I go home tired but satisfied. It's not glamorous, and I sure as hell don't make 6 figures, but I never thought I needed to in order to be respected. I've always believed your worth comes from how you treat people, not what you put on a tax return." My wife, Denise, 36, comes from a different world. Her dad owns several car dealerships. Her mom was a principal before she retired early. Her sister, Jessica, just got promoted and bought a new townhouse in Asheville. All of them talk like they're better than everyone else. You know the type, overly polite in public but make you feel 2 feet tall with every sentence. When Denise and I first got together, I didn't think much of the class difference. I thought, okay, they're fancy, whatever. We love each other. At first, her family tolerated me. Then they started cracking jokes. Small ones. Like how I smelled like oil when I came to dinner straight from the garage. Or asking, "So, you ever think about going back to school?" Stuff like that. They never said it to be helpful, it was always a dig. But I ignored it. I figured I'd earn my spot with time. So when Jessica asked if we could help her move into her new townhouse, I didn't hesitate. She asked Denise first, of course, and Denise volunteered me before I even heard about it. She needs help lifting stuff. "We'll stay for the weekend," she said like it was just a quick errand. I had to move my work schedule around. I asked my boss for Friday off, which he gave me even though we were short that week. I packed up every tool we might need, dolly, straps, gloves, tape, the works. Denise had left a day early for a conference in Greensboro, so I drove up alone Friday afternoon. It's about a 3-hour trip. I got there around 7 p.m. The place was a typical modern townhouse. 3 floors, white siding, tiny front yard. I parked, grabbed my bag, walked in, and right away I knew I was out of place. Jessica was sitting on the floor with a glass of wine, boxes all around her. She looked up and said, "Oh hey," like I was an unexpected Amazon delivery. I asked, "Where should I put my bag?" She hesitated. You didn't bring a sleeping bag or anything?" I said, "No. I figured I'd be in the guest room." She stood up and said, "Oh yeah, so the guest room is for family." I just stared at her. "I'm married to your sister." She didn't even flinch. "Yeah, I know. But Denise is in there already. I didn't think you'd be staying the night." I looked around. "So where am I supposed to sleep?" She smiled like it was a solution. "The porch out back has a couch. It's got a cushion. It's actually kinda cozy." She was serious. I said nothing. I just walked through the house, out the back door, and saw the couch. It was a wicker piece, 2 cushions, no blanket, no covering, and it was already getting cold. I stood there for a long minute. Then I walked back to the front, grabbed my bag, and set it on the porch. I didn't want to cause a scene. I figured if Denise knew, she'd make it right. Spoiler, she knew. She came out a bit later, holding her phone and a glass of wine. "Oh, hey. Jessica told you where to crash." "Yeah," I said. She didn't look the least bit sorry. Just said, "We'll make it up to you in the morning. Okay?" Then she went back inside. I sat out there with nothing but my hoodie. It dropped to 45 that night. I barely slept. The damn cushion was damp, too. I woke up with a sore back, teeth chattering. Next morning, I went inside. The smell of eggs and coffee hit me. Jessica and Denise were sitting at the table in fresh clothes, giggling about something. Denise looked up and said, "Morning. There's some eggs on the counter." I walked over. The eggs were cold, toast limp. I sat down and ate in silence. That's when she hit me with it. She laughed and said, "You could have just gotten a hotel. If you had a job worth mentioning." Jessica snorted into her coffee. I just sat there. I didn't say a word. I kept eating. Cold eggs. Cold toast. Cold everything. I was pissed, but I wasn't going to give them a show. We moved furniture all day. I lifted every box. Hauled bookshelves up 3 flights. Sweated through my hoodie. No thank you. No water. Barely a word. Sunday night, I got in my truck and drove home. Denise came with me. She spent the whole ride on her phone. Didn't say a thing about the weekend. I dropped her off at the house, then I went for a drive. I didn't want to look at her. Didn't want to sleep next to her. When I got back, I slept on the living room couch. She didn't ask why. She knew. And she didn't care. I went to work Monday morning, but I was still boiling inside. That line from Breakfast, if you had a job worth mentioning, it played in my head on repeat. I tried to forget it, tried to focus on work, but I couldn't. Tuesday, I barely spoke to Denise. Wednesday, I started writing something. Thursday night, I was ready. I sent a group text. I don't mean just Denise and Jessica. I mean everyone who had been at that house, plus Denise's parents, her aunt and Boone, even Jessica's boyfriend. Every single person who acted like I didn't matter. Here's what I wrote. Just wanted to say thank you to everyone who reminded me exactly where I stand last weekend. After driving 3 hours, sleeping on a porch like a stray dog, and hearing I should have gotten a hotel if I had a job worth mentioning, I finally get it. You see me as disposable. That's fine. But from now on, don't expect me to show up, fix things, or lift anything for anyone. Denise, my lawyer, will be in touch. I meant every word. I didn't wait for replies. But they came anyway. Jessica was first. What the hell? You're overreacting. Then you could have said something. Then, Denise, what did you do? I heard yelling the next day. Denise was on the phone in the kitchen. I was in the garage. She was trying to whisper, but the walls are thin. Jessica was screaming at her. Loud enough that I heard every word. You let him sleep outside? Are you out of your mind? Then came the call from Denise's dad. He's usually cold with me, but this time he was different. He said, I don't know what happened out there, but I raised my daughters to be strong, not heartless. And if what I'm hearing is true, I'm embarrassed. You didn't deserve that. He hung up without waiting for me to reply. Denise came to me that night. She sat down, looked uncomfortable. You didn't have to text everyone, she said. I didn't answer. She tried again. I didn't think it would be that big of a deal. It was just one night. I looked her dead in the eye. No, it was years of disrespect. That night just proved it. She said nothing after that. But I wasn't done. Because that message? That was just the warning shot. The real revenge was still coming. After that group text, things started unraveling fast. Denise tried to act normal around the house like nothing happened. She'd hum while brushing her hair, ask if I wanted something from the store, even cook dinner one night, first time in months. But I didn't say a word. I wasn't playing along. I didn't care about her fake peace offerings. What I cared about was what came next. I had been putting up with little cuts for years. Her calling my job blue collar like it was a dirty word. Her flinching when I'd show up to family events in work boots. The way she stopped introducing me by name and just said, this is my husband. Like I was some guy she had to bring along. But now? Now I saw it all clearly. So I made a plan. First, I opened a separate checking account. I started putting half my paycheck in there. I also talked to a buddy from work who just went through a divorce. He gave me the number to his lawyer. I called and set a meeting. That was Friday. Saturday morning, I was under the truck changing brake pads when Denise stormed out holding her phone. What the hell did you text my dad? I kept working. Exactly what needed to be said. She crossed her arms. He told me I should apologize to you. That I should rethink who I've become. Do you know how humiliating that is? I didn't even look at her. Good. She scoffed and walked back inside. That afternoon, her mom called. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail saying, I hope you understand how much stress you're putting on this family. I played it twice. Then I saved it. That night, Denise came into the bedroom holding a folder. She sat on the edge of the bed. I know things have been tense, but I think we can fix it. I just stared at her. Fix what? Your attitude? Your sister's ego? Or the fact that you let me sleep outside and laughed about it? She looked away. I didn't let you, I cut her off. You stood there. You saw me on that couch. And you walked away. She didn't speak for a minute. Then she said, I think we should try couples counseling. I almost laughed. Too late. And it really was. Because what she didn't know was that I wasn't the only one angry about that weekend. Her dad? He'd forwarded my text to a few people, including her cousin Thomas, who runs one of the car dealerships. Thomas had always been friendly with me. We talked about trucks and tools every Christmas. Thomas called me Sunday morning. He said, listen, I don't want to be in the middle of all this, but what happened at Jessica's house? Total garbage. You're welcome to swing by any time. Hell, I'll buy you lunch. I thanked him. Then he said something that flipped a switch in my head. Funny thing though, Jessica's boyfriend? Ryan? He told me he offered to give you the guest room. Said Denise told him you'd be fine on the porch. I paused. What? Yeah. Ryan said he offered it to you, and Denise said not to worry, that you'd make do. My stomach dropped. So it wasn't just Jessica. It was Denise. She let it happen. She planned it. She wanted me humiliated. Why? I didn't know yet. But now I wanted to. I needed proof. So I reached out to Ryan. I texted him a simple message. Hey, can we talk? Something you said got back to me. Just want to hear it from you. He replied, sure. Call me. I stepped outside and called. He sounded nervous, but he told the truth. He said, yeah, man. I offered to sleep on the couch. Told Jessica you could have the guest room, and she was cool with it. But Denise pulled me aside and said it was fine, that you'd be okay out there. I thought you knew. I thanked him, hung up, and just sat there on the porch where I'd frozen my ass off a week ago. Now I had the missing piece. This wasn't some thoughtless accident. It was intentional. She had done it on purpose. So I went back inside calm. Denise was on the couch scrolling through Instagram. I sat across from her. You told Ryan not to give me the guest room. She looked up confused. Then her face changed. I didn't think it was a big deal. I nodded. So you did. She tried to spin it. I just didn't want to make things awkward. It's Jessica's house. No, I said. It's not about Jessica. You wanted me out there. She went quiet. Then finally she said it. I was embarrassed, okay? I leaned forward. Of what? Of you. Of the way you looked. You showed up in oil-stained jeans. You smelled like transmission fluid. Jessica's neighbors were around. It's not a good look. There it was. Raw and ugly. She was ashamed of me. Not for anything I did. Just for being myself. You married a mechanic, I said. She shrugged. People change. I stood up. I didn't. You did. She laughed bitterly. Yeah, I grew up. I walked away. Back into the garage. My space. That night, I started printing out every shared bank record. I logged into our joint accounts and documented everything. I wasn't going to fight dirty, but I wasn't going to walk away empty-handed either. And then I sent a second group text. Just 5 people this time: Jessica, her boyfriend Ryan, Denise's parents, and Denise herself. I wrote, turns out the porch thing wasn't an accident. Denise told Ryan not to give me the guest room, because she was embarrassed of me. Just wanted you all to know that. I'm no longer part of your family's little show. Don't contact me unless it's through a lawyer. Denise saw it, read it, and started screaming. She read the text, stood up like something bit her, and started screaming. You were humiliating me. Why would you text my family again like that? I was standing by the kitchen counter when she came stomping toward me, holding her phone in one hand, the other in a fist. Her face was red, embarrassment, anger, maybe both, but all I felt was calm. Cold, steady calm. I looked her right in the eye and said, because you earned it. You're trying to destroy me, she yelled. I didn't answer. Just watched her. Her voice cracked when she said, I gave up so much to be with you. I actually laughed. Couldn't help it. Like what? Living in a house where your name's not even on the title? Spending holidays pretending you care about people like me? Sleeping next to someone you clearly don't respect? She opened her mouth, then shut it. I walked past her, went into the bedroom, grabbed the duffel bag I'd packed 2 nights earlier. Just the basics. Clothes, toothbrush, papers. I had booked a short-term rental across town. I wasn't going to play house anymore. As I picked up the bag, Denise followed me. You're just gonna leave? Already did, I said. You just didn't notice. That was the last thing I said to her in that house. The next few days were quiet, but not for long. Jessica tried texting again. Something about being sorry and not knowing the whole story. I ignored her. Then her boyfriend Ryan sent me a DM. He said, for what it's worth, I think what you're doing is right. None of them treat you right. That message stuck with me, because it told me I wasn't crazy. I hadn't imagined the disrespect. Then came Monday morning. I got a call from Denise's dad. I need to talk to you. In person. We met at a diner just off I-40. He was already sitting in a booth when I walked in. Ordered me coffee without asking. He looked older than I remembered. Tired. I owe you an apology, he said first thing. I knew Denise could be cold, but I didn't know it had gotten this far. I didn't say anything. He sighed. You've worked hard. I see that now. And I see how little appreciation you've gotten for it. Again, I didn't answer. I just let him talk. Then he said something unexpected. You're not the only one Denise's turned her back on. She got a new job offer. In New York. Been planning to leave you. She told her mother and Jessica last month. My stomach dropped. That was news to me. She's what? He nodded. Yep. She said she was going to make the move without telling you until it was set in stone. Said she was tired of living small. I stared at him. And you all were okay with that? He shook his head. I didn't know. I only found out because her mother accidentally mentioned it during a dinner last week. Thought you already knew. So the porch wasn't just a humiliation. It was the setup. She had one foot out the door. That's why she didn't care how I felt. She didn't think she'd need to deal with me much longer. Now I was more than just angry. I was done. I met with the lawyer again that afternoon. I handed him a copy of the voicemail from Denise's mom and screenshots of the texts from Ryan confirming what Denise had done. I gave him a summary of our finances, the mortgage, which was under my name, and all the work I'd put into that house over the years. He looked it over and said, "We're going to be just fine." Then he said, "Do you want to go quiet or loud?" I thought about it for a second. Then I said loud. That night, I did something Denise would never see coming. I contacted our realtor. Our house had equity in it. It was in my name. I'd paid most of the mortgage over the years. I asked what it would take to start the process of listing it. She said we'd need to do a walkthrough. I said, how about Thursday? I knew Denise would be at her friend's birthday that night. So while she was out taking selfies and pretending her life was picture perfect, I let the realtor in, took the pictures, signed the paperwork, and got the ball rolling. The house was going up for sale. Without her. Friday morning, Denise came home and found a for sale sign in the front yard. She walked in, holding her heels in one hand, makeup smeared like she'd been crying or partying, probably both. What the hell is this? I handed her a manila envelope. Divorce papers. And a formal notice of property sale. She flipped through the papers, eyes wide. You're selling the house? No, I am. You never put a cent into it. You just lived in it like it was a stage. She started yelling again. I stayed calm. I said, go move to New York. Take your show up there. We're done. What she didn't know yet was that I had one last move. I wasn't just walking away. I was taking the one thing she cared about most, her image. Because I had proof. Screenshots. Voicemails. Witnesses. And I wasn't afraid to let the world see the real her. After Denise got served with divorce papers and saw the house going up for sale, she tried everything to spin the situation. First came the fake tears. She cried to her mom, told her I was abandoning her, that I was overreacting, and that I never supported her dreams. Her mom bought it for a few days, until I sent her a little care package. In it were screenshots of texts from Denise saying she couldn't wait to be out of this dusty mechanic town. Voicemail clips from Ryan and her dad explaining what really happened at Jessica's, a breakdown of the house finances showing 96% of the payments came from my income, a printout of her job offer from New York, which she had accidentally left in our printer weeks earlier. A few hours after the package arrived, her mom called me. She didn't apologize, she's too proud for that. But she said, I understand now. That was enough for me. Then came Jessica. She started damage control with her neighbors first, claiming the situation had been a misunderstanding and that her sister's husband was sensitive and took things out of context. She also said on record to multiple people that I snapped and started making things up because of money problems. That lie didn't last long. See, what Jessica forgot is that her own boyfriend had already texted me a written statement backing up my story. When he found out what she was saying, he got pissed. He emailed me his statement. I didn't ask for it, he volunteered. It said, I personally offered the guest room to me and Denise declined on his behalf, saying he'd be okay outside. I regret not speaking up more in that moment, but I confirm this is exactly what happened. I forwarded that statement to the HR department at her company. And I wasn't subtle. I included screenshots showing how she mocked me for not having a real job, her laughing at me sleeping outside, and her telling neighbors I was unstable. Turns out her company had a pretty strict conduct outside of work clause. They launched a quiet internal investigation. She didn't get fired, but she was reassigned and lost her management title. Ryan broke up with her a week later. Told her he was embarrassed to be associated with this mess. As for Denise, once she realized I wasn't bluffing, she tried to negotiate. Suddenly, she wanted to talk maturely. She asked to meet up at a coffee shop. I agreed, but I came prepared. She sat across from me, all dolled up, fake smile. She started with, "I think we both made mistakes." I stopped her there. "No," I said. "You made decisions." I responded. Then I laid it out. I showed her a copy of the realtor contract, signed and active. I showed her the new bank account where I'd moved my money. I showed her the lease to a new apartment I already signed for myself, no cosigner, no shared anything. And then I handed her an envelope. Inside? My final offer. She could take what little was left in our joint checking account, about $3,000, and walk away. Or I could drag this through court and we'd both bleed. She took the deal. 1 month later, the house sold. I made enough from the equity to buy a used F-150, upgrade my garage, and pay off some old debt. Denise? She moved to New York like she planned. But she didn't go with a clean reputation. Her old job never gave her a letter of recommendation. Her new company, from what I heard, downsized the team she was joining. She had to settle for a lower role and a tiny apartment in Queens. She started posting quotes on Instagram, stuff like, "Sometimes storms come to clear your path." You know, the usual fake deep nonsense. Meanwhile, I was building something real. I partnered with a buddy and opened a small garage downtown, custom work, restorations, the stuff I love. Business boomed after I shared my story anonymously in a local community forum. People rallied behind it. Some even guessed who I was. I didn't care. They came in droves. One guy said, "Any man who's been through what you've been through and still stands, that's who I want working on my truck." I had my dignity. I had my peace. And I had the last word. Denise ended up alone in New York, struggling to afford the lifestyle she used to mock others for not having. Lost her title, her house, and her image. Jessica. Demoted at work, dumped by Ryan, now the neighbor everyone avoids. Denise's mom. Publicly shamed for backing her daughter before knowing the facts. Me. Living debt-free, owning a growing business, and finally surrounded by people who see me. Not what I wear, not where I work, but me. I didn't scream. I didn't hit back. I just told the truth. And I let it burn everything that deserved to burn. They set the fire. I just handed them the match.